How much is the royal family costing Britain, and what will happen to the late Queen's beloved royal train? Hello, I'm Cameron Walker and you're watching GB News Royal. Please don't forget to subscribe. The King has made the decision to decommission the royal train in 2027, 30 years since the late Queen Elizabeth shed a rare public tear watching her beloved royal yacht Britannia end its final journey. His Majesty is said to have fond memories of the train, even having his own carriage added in the mid-1980s. The cost of maintenance and upgrades, however, has proved too much, suggesting His Majesty is mindful of the public cost of funding the official duties of the royal family. Planes and helicopters are still frequently used, though. The most expensive trip during the period was the 11-day trip by Charles and Camilla to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Samoa in October 2024, which also included the Australia royal visit, and that cost, the travel did, over £400,000. Now, the Sovereign Grant Report, which has now been published, details how public money is spent on funding the monarchy, calculated as a percentage of Crown Estate profits 2 years previously. His Majesty surrenders the remaining profits to the Treasury. When it became clear 2 years ago that extra money from offshore wind developments would increase Crown Estate profits, His Majesty wanted the additional income to be directed for the wider public good. So the sovereign grant was cut from 25% to 12%. However, a major 10-year resurfacing programme is taking place at Buckingham Palace, largely to protect the building from fires and floods caused by out-of-date wires and plumbing. It has previously been agreed that £369 million of public funds would be spent on the programme, and so far, just over £266 million has been spent. Even though the percentage of Crown Estate profits used to fund the sovereign grant has decreased, the windfall means the King will receive an extra £91.4 million over the next 2 years. Republicans may argue the millions spent refurbishing one building could be better spent by the UK government for the benefit of the country, but monarchists see the cost associated with the royal family as value for money. The soft power King Charles wields, it has been argued, strengthens relations between the UK and other nations, particularly useful when trying to strike a trade deal with President Donald Trump. According to the Institute for Government, royal-themed products from memorabilia to television shows like The Crown are estimated to be worth tens of millions of pounds. Although Republicans dismissed the tourism arguments for keeping the monarchy, there was a 28% increase in Eurostar train bookings to the UK before Prince William and Catherine's wedding in 2011. Tourists then, of course, spent money on UK businesses. There has been a number of major royal events in the 14 years since, and I suspect similar increases in inward travel to Britain boosted the economy, although that is quite hard to quantify. The Institute for Government also suggests that Royal Warrants, something the Prince and Princess of Wales will soon be giving out themselves, supports the Britishness of brands, potentially increasing their revenue and profits. When Buckingham Palace resurfacing work is completed in 2027, the cost of the sovereign grant is expected to be significantly less than it has been over the last 10 years. The Sunday Times recently reported Prince William plans to look under the hood of the royal household when he ascends the throne, perhaps in an effort to cut further costs for the public. The Spanish royal family, for example, is thought to cost the Spanish public under €10 million a year, far less than the British monarchy. It is unclear if there are plans to significantly reduce the public costs of running the British monarchy in future. Now let's take a look at the Prince and Princess of Wales, because Prince William is overseeing an era of deep change at the Duchy of Cornwall, which was criticised for charging rents to public bodies like the Ministry of Justice, the NHS and Ministry of Defence. William's duchy, which provides him with a private income of nearly £23 million a year, has launched a policy review of the rents it receives from charities and grassroots community groups. Will Bax, the duchy's new chief executive, who took on the role at the start of this year, told us that grassroots groups who are direct tenants will have their rents waived, as in they won't have to pay anything, while local charities will see up to a 50% reduction in rent. Primary schools may also get a rent reduction. William is the 25th Duke of Cornwall, following in the footsteps of his father, the King, after becoming entitled to the duchy's profits when he became heir to the throne. His private secretary, Sir Ian Patrick, confirms the prince pays the highest rate of income tax, but he refused to give an exact figure, citing privacy. Meanwhile, Buckingham Palace confirms that the King has appointed William and Catherine as grantors of Royal Warrants, and a Royal Warrant, of course, as a mark of recognition to people or companies who have regularly supplied goods or services to the royal household. Any current Royal Warrant holders can apply to be granted a further one from the Prince and Princess, with the deadline of the end of July. Firms without any royal warrants at the moment can apply from next year.
Now, it's the end of the line for the royal train because King Charles has decided it's time to retire the historic locomotive. With rising costs and a new era of royal accountability, the palace says the train will go by 2027. And meanwhile, the royal helicopter use appears to be on the rise. They're all aboard the chopper. And here's the King and Queen arriving in Edinburgh earlier today with the leasing of 2 new choppers. Not Chris Hope, but 2 royal choppers, which will be use sustainable aviation fuel. That's right, a woke chopper. Now, this decision comes as the public money used to fund the monarchy for the last financial year has been revealed, costing over £86 million. Well, let's speak now with GBNews' royal correspondent Cameron Walker. Cameron, there's always a conversation about is the royal family good value for money? What say you?
Yeah, well, £86 million sounds like a lot, doesn't it, Martin? But let me break down exactly how that money comes about. So the King owns this big portfolio, which is known as the Crown Estate, of lands, of property, and the seabed around the United Kingdom, which we should be able to show you on your screens shortly for those of you watching on television. And the King surrenders all the profits, over £1 billion of revenue each year the Crown Estates get, to the Treasury. So the UK government can do what it likes with it. However, they pay a percentage back to King Charles in the form of these sovereign grants to fund the monarchy for things like the upkeep of royal palaces, for paying staff, and of course the official travel and so on and so forth. But not everything is funded via the sovereign grant. So if we show you this next slide here for those of you watching on television, it is on social media and on gbnews.com if you're listening on radio. Things like security of the royal family, not included. Policing of royal events, not included. Neither is the local government cost, the local councils of putting out crash barriers, etc., for when members of the royal family come to visit their region. That is all funded by taxpayers, but that's not included in the sovereign grant, and we do not have figures. Figures are not released as to how much money that costs, which is why Republicans always argue the true cost of the monarchy is worth more than £86 million. But on balance, most people in the United Kingdom still say that it is value for money. So let's talk about some of the specifics. So as you mentioned, Martin, the royal train is being scrapped. So it's going to cost too much to upgrade it for the modern rail systems. It also is very old and it cost a lot of money to run. Only 2 journeys were taken last year with the royal train. The first one cost just over £20,000. The second one cost over £40,000. So the helicopters are a far more efficient use of public money. What we've also learned is that the most expensive royal tour of the year so far, of the financial year last year, was the Australia and Samoa tour undertaken by the King and Queen. The flights and the travel associated with that cost over £400,000. But elsewhere, the King has granted the right of Prince William and Princess Catherine to give out royal warrants to British businesses. So a boost to British businesses. Those with existing warrants can apply to have one from the Prince and Princess of Wales until the end of this month. And then next year, any other company that provides a service or a product to the Prince and Princess of Wales can indeed apply for a royal warrant, which will be a boost usually to their business because more people want to have those products because it's associated with William and Catherine. When it comes to Prince William, the accounts for the Duchy of Cornwall, that's his own private portfolio of lands and property, was released as well, which shows that he was allocated £23 million a year to pay for his staff and, of course, pay for the lives of his wife, the Princess of Wales, and his 3 children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Now, earlier this year, Prince William was criticised for his duchy charging rent to government departments, including the Ministry of Justice and the Ministry of Defence, to use his lands to store ships or build a prison, for example, in Dartmoor Prison. Now, what Prince William has done in response to that is not change those specific ones, but what he has done is waive the rents for grassroots community tenants and will offer up to a 50% discount for charities and potentially primary schools which are built on his land. So Prince William is starting to move the dial when it comes to people who use his land in the Duchy of Cornwall. So it is a lot of money, £86 million. It's also going to go up slightly next year because Buckingham Palace is in the final stage of the renovation work. So it will go up to over £100 million next year for the next 2 years. But it means that Buckingham Palace will be less likely to burn down or flood. So, I mean, make of that what you will.
Cameron Walker, and excellent analysis as ever. Certainly Chris Hope's getting a bit hot under the collar here. He thinks we should be cutting back on some of these savings. Always had you done as a monarchist, Chopper.
Well, I am a monarchist, Martin, but I wonder why they can't make savings and rather than ask for more money from the public purse.
You've been hanging around with Jeremy Corbyn too long. Thank you very, very much, Cameron Walker and Chris Hope. Superb stuff.
So what do you think? Is the royal family value for money, or should they cut costs further? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This has been Cameron Walker for GBN Royal.